If you are just getting started in sourdough, this is the perfect video for you because this video will show you exactly what tools you don't need so you can be successful and get started with as little trouble and little cost as possible. Hi, I'm Jenny Pryor from Living Bread Baker. I love showing sourdough bakers how little it really takes to get started with sourdough. So I have a list of just 10 household tools. Most of these you'll find in your house already, as well as 2 special things that are really recommended for long-term success with sourdough. Here you see the very basic tools that you need to get started on sourdough. First of all, you have these probably in your house. These are some oven mitts. So you want to use some good quality oven mitts. I really love these ones. They're silicone on the outside, they're lined on the inside. These have gotten a lot of use and I prefer them because if you get any moisture on these, you won't get burned, whereas cloth oven mitts, if you get any moisture, the heat will come through to your hand. So this is a kitchen scale. When I first got started, I did not use this, but I found that this tool can be as little as $10 or $11, and it is a great investment because it gives you your most accurate measurements without fussing with tablespoons, teaspoons, or cups. This will give you a really good result and you'll be really happy investing in one of these. This one's a little more expensive because I've been baking for a while, but I've used the really cheap ones and they work great for a long time. A simple mixing bowl. You need this for mixing up your dough. Stand mixers are great, but actually hand mixing is a really great way to get a sense for your dough and make sure you know the right feel of it, the right hydration of it. So this is actually a really good way to get started. The stand mixer has a few problems I won't get into here, but I do use them, but this is all you need to get started with the dough mixing process. You'll notice these 2 items here. This is a homemade proofing bowl. So you just line it with a towel like this. And then your dough for a bowl gets flipped upside down and put in here to proof. And then you can wrap it on top with both sides of the towel and plastic wrap if you're going to do a little bit longer fermentation. But this is a homemade version of this proofing bowl. This sort of proofing bowl or proofing basket is also a name for it. These cost about $20 to $25 on most websites. So these are more of an investment. This homemade version will work just the same. This is a Sourdough bread knife. I got this in our set we got for our wedding almost 15 years ago. It's a great basic bread knife. You really do want a good quality bread knife for making sourdough bread because if you do not have one, you're risking cuts and injuries. So please get a good quality bread knife. Sourdough has a good one for about $80. The one I have now is more expensive, but this is a good starter bread knife. Next, some parchment paper. This is really helpful for the baking process. So you do want some parchment paper. This is a really great brand that lasts really well on high heat. This is a tool I discovered later into my sourdough baking, and it is a great multi-purpose tool. You can use it for mixing dough. Use the rounded ends to make sure you clean off the edges of your bowl so that no dough sticks to them. It also works for shaping. You can use this rounded side where it's a little bit sharper to cut the dough apart during any dividing that's needed for rolls or different recipes. And then the flat side you can use to scrape up the dough. So I use this for mixing, for shaping, but this is a great multi-use tool that's pretty inexpensive. Here, this is a steam tray. You may have noticed a lot of people making bread in something like this. This is great to have. This is something I bought specifically for bread making, but I did have a Dutch oven that I use for my house. If you have one of these on hand, that's great. Use this because it is a great tool for making excellent sourdough bread. But if you don't have a Dutch oven like this, you can use a pan like this to manually steam your oven, and I have a whole video about how to do that, so check out the video for how to manually steam your oven without a Dutch oven. And over here we have a few extra jars. I recommend having 2 to 3 jars for your active starter, for leftover discard, or if you need to make a new batch. These are great to have 2 to 3 on hand. And of course, in one of those jars, one of the 2 special things we need is our sourdough starter. My sourdough starter, as you can see, is needing a little bit of love, but our sourdough starter is obviously instrumental to sourdough baking. So now you see how simple and easy it can be to get started in sourdough baking. Really, you don't need all the fancy stuff because a lot of times I find that people will invest in all the special tools and then they get overwhelmed and they feel like they give up. So I'd rather have you start simple and get excited and buy those tools along the way as you're learning and loving this skill. So you really can start this with almost no cost up front. But there's two things that you really need, and I recommend for every sourdough baker to have when they get started. The first one is a good sourdough starter. Aside from a sourdough starter, the second thing that you really need to be successful starting a sourdough is investing in a course or a class. I started sourdough baking with this video, this book, and this website, and just a hodgepodge of different resources. And I kind of got it. But if you've ever heard the old story about the little girl who asked her mom about the roast, the little girl said to her mom, "Mom, why do you cut off the end of the roast when you put it in the pan?" And mom said to the daughter, "I don't know, let's call grandma." Calls grandma. "Hey, hey grandma, why do we cut off the end of the roast when we put it in the pan?" "I don't know, you have to ask great grandma." They call great grandma. "Great grandma, why do we cut off the end of the roast before we put it in the pan?" And great grandma said, "Well, I always did it because my pan was too small." And I find that in sourdough baking, when we are not getting the instruction of learning why we do certain things in sourdough, we might just do something that isn't based on the science, isn't based on what's real. It might just be based on our friend's preference or certain preference online, or even sometimes there's superstitions that are floating around out there. But if you learn from a sourdough teacher in an online course or in a class, you will hopefully, if it's a really good teacher, you will learn the why behind the what, and also learn how. Learning the why really helps you understand sourdough and be able to bake long term. It also gives you more strength and understanding when you see new sourdough recipes and methods and how to apply your sourdough knowledge. So finding a sourdough teacher really depends on your style of learning as well as you as a person. Some sourdough teachers are going to be extremely scientific. They're going to give you lots of measurements, percentages, and then some are going to be more artistic, where they're going to maybe talk more about the feel of the dough a lot more than about the numbers and the weight. And then some are going to do a little bit of both. Some are very vocabulary heavy and some are very user friendly. So get to know your teacher before you take their class or before you take their course, to make sure it's a good fit for your learning style. And if you're interested, I have a full Intro to Sourdough course that is a great foundational course, includes lots of videos and bonuses for new sourdough bakers. I love this course because this is a course that I've been teaching for over 6 years, and it's really helped hundreds of bakers bake amazing, incredible sourdough things. So my Intro to Sourdough course is linked below. If you want something a little bit different, my once a week no knead sourdough course is perfect for the person who's super busy and sourdough feels overwhelming and they just want some basic bread every week. Or for someone who's just getting started with sourdough and all the what ifs of sourdough are a little overwhelming and they just want to be told exactly what to do. This prescribed process is something I use a lot during the week, and it gives you a way to make pizza, bread, rolls, really every basic bread you'd need in one method. So make your dough once, use it throughout the week. So I hope that helps you learn about the tools that you truly need to get started in sourdough. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, share it with a friend. Let me know in the comments what you think. If there's a tool that maybe I left out, or one of these tools that you got and has really made a big difference. And I will see you in the next video. Have a great day.